Hello there. My name is Jasom Jensai, and welcome to this episode of. Actually, it's not an episode, it is a stream. Welcome to my 30-second stream where I'm going to be reviewing episode 4 of Bad Batch that just came out yesterday and is pretty good, but I'll go into more detail on that in just a second. But first, let's do the question of the stream, which is who is the chairman of Pantora? And this is specifically at the end of the Clone Wars, because it has changed in the middle of the Clone Wars, so it's the one at the end of the Clone Wars, not the one at the beginning of the Clone Wars. Yeah, and there's some cool trivia about that guy. So, yeah, it's pretty interesting behind the scenes thing. But with that out of the way, let's move on. I was gonna say let's get on with or let's move on or something, and then I just ended up saying just a mix of the two, which doesn't make any sense. But anyways, let's move on to the main topic, which is episode 4 of Bad Batch, which just came out. And I don't know if you saw the thumbnail or anything, but the thing I had on the thumbnail is another pit stop, and because that's kind of how I feel about this episode, is it's a lot like that last episode where their ship was broken, they stopped at a planet, fixed it, and at the end of the episode they left. Except last episode there was also the Crosshair thing where he basically led a bunch of troopers to do stuff. So yeah, I mean, it kind of feels like not much is happening in this show, which I get that it's like a 14 episode show or whatever, so it's not every second needs to be just filled with action and plot and all this stuff, but like it'd be nice if it was a bit more condensed, because I don't know, I just feel like it's not that, it's a bit filler. Like, I know there's a lot of, like, I guess negativity around the word filler, just because it's kind of negative to say, to be honest, but it's like, is it really necessary to the main plot? There is side plots that they do, but then again, it's not really, it is kind of necessary to the main plot, because, like, Fennec Shand shows up, and I'm sure that'll be important. And you could also argue that the main plot is between Hunter and Omega and their relationship developing. Like, there's a lot of plots going on all at once, because that's kind of how most stories are. But yeah, you could say that because you see Omega and Hunter's relationship being developed, there's a plot in itself. But I don't know. It just feels like there's not that much happening. I guess that's just me. So, and art is subjective. So, it's perfectly fine if you feel that this is just the most exciting show ever, and I guess it's just perfect for you. To be honest, I've never really been super interested in the clones, so, I mean, don't get me wrong, they are awesome, but like, compared to some people, I am not that interested in them. So yeah, this show isn't, like, targeted towards me, so I'm not super surprised that I'm not enjoying it that much. And also, when I say I'm not enjoying it that much, it's Star Wars, I'm enjoying it a lot. There's a lot to love in these episodes, but it does kind of feel like there's not as much is happening as could happen. So yeah, I guess somewhat of a filler episode. Kind of a bit of a coincidence that the one, like, I guess landing bay that they go to, there's got to be a better name for it, but like, you know what I'm talking about, where they landed their ship. The person who owned that just happened to know Fennec Shand and call her up. I guess that's a bit of a coincidence, but, you know, coincidences do happen. And if there were no coincidences, I mean, it wouldn't be a good story, because nothing would happen. But anyways, yeah, I mean, it's hard to discredit coincidences, because it's like, well, it's not a coincidence, it's just chance. Anyways, one thing I did kind of like about this, and also kind of didn't like, is that the Bad Batch were kind of incompetent at being civilians. They kind of just, like, lied, they stole, they got into fights and stuff just to solve other problems. Like, their problems were not solved by, let me get a quick job using Wrecker's amazing muscle to, like, load cargo, or Hunter's ability to, I don't know, I feel like you could use, especially tech, you could definitely make a ton of money using tech's abilities. Echo's abilities, maybe as well. Wrecker, yes. I don't know. What job would you think Hunter would be the best at? Because I mean, Wrecker, obviously anything to do with physical labor. Tech, obviously anything to do with tech or anything mental, really. Echo, obviously good at interfacing with machines. But what would Hunter's job be? I don't know. Leave your thoughts on that in the chat or in the comments. Yeah, so they kind of just utterly failed on being good citizens of the Empire. So there's that, which could be seen as a negative because it, like, you would think they'd be able to do some, like, you'd think they have all these abilities. You'd think they'd find a way to use them, but at the same time, they're clone troopers. They're kind of relatively young compared to most beings. Assuming they have the accelerated aging as the other clone troopers, which I do believe they have. Yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of reasons why they wouldn't know just normal societal standards. Yeah, so, and then there's also Fennec Shand, who is also doing that sort of thing. And it's kind of interesting how Fennec Shand is tracking down Omega, and she's using all these underhanded things like stealing and all that, and the clones are doing the same thing to keep Omega. It's like, well, is that the... It kind of brings up this moral question of how far is too far? Like, does the end justify the means? And that's just... Obviously, they didn't delve into it super far. It's just kind of like they were just kind of lying and stealing in order to save a child. And protect themselves, too. Another, I guess, interesting ethical question is, how ethical is it to sabotage other people to help yourself? And maybe sabotage is too extreme of a word, but, like, I don't know. Because, I mean, obviously, they want to survive. Is it wrong for them to steal to survive when they can't do anything else? Although, clearly, Tech could get a really good job as whatever he wanted. On the other hand, they're trying to lay low, so maybe they can't get a job. Maybe that's why. But, yeah, I don't know. There is a lot. Like, if you were to take a really deep dive into this, there's a lot you can analyze. But just on a surface level, it just doesn't seem that complex to me. The other thing is, we just saw a show a lot like this with The Mandalorian. Especially Season 1. It's a good formula, but if you just do the same formula over and over, it kind of gets old. Especially with a more episodic formula where the formula itself repeats itself inside the show. Like, in The Mandalorian, the first episode was kind of unique. Second episode, same thing. Third episode, same thing. They're all just like plot-based. Mando saving the child and all that stuff. Then you get to episode 4, and he stops at a planet, does some stuff, leaves the planet. Episode 5, stops at a planet. Or I should say chapter 5. Chapter 5, stops at a planet, does some stuff, leaves the planet. Chapter 6, does a mission. That one's a bit different. But that's probably why I liked that one. Yeah, then you move on to 7 and 8, or obviously the finale. Kind of a continuation of chapters 1, 2, and 3. Then you move on to Season 2 with Chapter 9, stops at a planet, does some stuff, leaves, also sets in Boba Fett, also the Great Dragon was awesome, so I like that. Then you have Chapter 10, where what does he do? That's the one, Chapter 11. Oh, that's the Frog Lady one. Stops at a planet, ship breaks, fixes it, leaves. Kind of fixes it. That one, a bit different. Not in the good way, in my opinion. It's kind of weird. Then you have Chapter 11, stops at a planet, does some stuff, leaves. And again, that one has a cameo from Bo-Katan and the other Mandalorians, so that one's good for that reason. Then you get the picture. They just stop at a planet, fix the ship, leave. And that's like the progression, episode after episode, carrying over from Mando and now into Bad Batch. And it's just getting a bit old, in my opinion. Especially because Mando has so much, I guess, just intrigue with Baby Yoda and all the characters you meet. I feel like these episodes are just kind of the same thing. And it would be, it would be a lot better in my opinion if Hunter wasn't the only one getting a lot of character development. Because the thing with Mando is, Mando's kind of like this Lone Ranger type guy, and to be honest, I don't really know much about the Lone Ranger, but it's a common saying, and I assume it means like a lone gunslinger, you're alone and doing your stuff on your own. Kind of like lone. It just sounds like that kind of guy. And Hunter is pretty similar, except he does have a team. So if they delved more into the team aspect, with Echo and Wrecker and Tech, and even having them have some more conversations about Crosshair and finding ways to get him back, it would be much improved, because it would be different from Mando, because there'd be multiple people training Omega, not just different because Omega is obviously very different from Grogu, where Grogu is just a baby and Omega is a child. So yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Should they delve more into the other characters? And then the problem with that is it takes more time, and you also have to find excuses to do them. And it's a lot. Basically, it's a lot harder to develop 4 characters, possibly 5 if you include Crosshair, than it is to develop just 1. Especially because Omega is, like I said, much older than Grogu, so you have to develop her as well. So then you're developing 5 or 6 characters rather than just 1 and Grogu, but he's just kind of cute though. But yeah, so that's my thoughts on the Bad Batch as a whole. This episode, kind of just the same thing again. Let's talk about Fennec Shand. So Fennec Shand shows up, and I liked it. It's awesome. I don't know, I guess she could have used her sniper abilities more, but then again, they probably want Omega alive, so I guess it makes sense. And I did enjoy seeing her in close quarters combat, and just general not sniper combat, because to be honest, sniper combat isn't the most interesting, I guess, because like it's just too far. It's too just shooting people before they see you, and it can be interesting. There are a lot of times they make it really good, especially on a team, like Aura Singh, when they in the Clone Wars, when they have these bounty hunters infiltrate the Republic. I don't remember what they're doing. I think it's the one where Anakin gives his lightsaber to Padme, and then he gets separated from it, and he's the only one in the Senate building. I know Cad Bane is leading the team, and there's a bunch of other people too, including some droids. Anyways, the scene where Aura Singh and them are taking out the Republic guards right at the beginning, with Aura Singh as the sniper, is pretty cool. Then you have the episode where Aura Singh is trying to assassinate Padme, and Ahsoka has visions of it, and so she's protecting Padme by basically having these visions and predicting where Aura Singh is going to come from. That one's interesting because it plays off of the fear of, we know there's a sniper somewhere, where's it going to be? And then eventually they find a sniper, and it's just big chase scene, and it's cool. But yeah, so I think it's cool that they didn't use Fennec Shand in that way, because although Hunter does have powers where he might be able to sense her, and that could be interesting. Like, she's about to take the shot, and then Hunter's like, get down, and then everyone gets down, and then big fight scene ensues, and maybe that's how Omega gets lost. Yeah, it's interesting. Also, the life lessons that Omega is learning on the way about getting separated from her, I guess, parents, and not literal parents, but you know what I mean. Father figure, parents figures, whatever. And then also the all-important lesson of don't trust strangers. So yeah, that's also interesting. One last thing I have to talk about in my notes here is the quick little scene of Wrecker versus Fennec Shand. Now, let's take a look at these guys. So you've got Fennec Shand, a sniper, shown herself to be good with the blaster, even a knife, just a all-around good bounty hunter, eventually someone who Boba Fett respects, who Mando respects, just an excellent warrior. Clearly very skilled. Then you have Wrecker. He's the guy who can push 3 AATs at once, which, if you don't know, those are the hover tanks used by the Separatist Alliance. He can just rip off, I forget what they're called, but they're like the things that they use to lock ships to the ground so that, like, in case, it's basically like arresting a ship, making it grounded so the people who own it are kind of stuck. But anyways, he can rip those apart. He can shove 3 ATs at once. And we see this both in this episode. He can hold up, what is it called? The, like, door of a Republic gunship. I think it's LAAT. I might be wrong on that. Double check me if you're curious. Anyways, you can hold up one of those while running and use it as cover. We see that in the very first episode. I believe it's their very first battle after they get shot down. So yeah, he's really strong versus Fennec Shand, who is more of a gunslinger, to be honest. And neither of them pull out a blaster, so they run towards each other, and Fennec Shand, like, throws him against the wall, hits him in his head, and boom, he's out. Gone. He's even wearing a helmet, and boom, he's out. One throw. First of all, how did he throw? Second of all, how did he get knocked out? And there's a cool theory I saw. I can't claim credit for this. I believe I saw it in Star Wars Theories Breakdown, which he credited someone in the live stream, but I could be wrong in remembering some other fact that I heard. But anyways, someone had a theory that Wrecker's chip was activated in the last episode, which makes a lot of sense because he got that weird head injury that took him out for the entire episode. And then now he gets hit in the head again, and he's out immediately. There seems to be something going wrong with his head, and the idea of Wrecker slowly turning to, like, the Order 66 thing, that's kind of scary, because Wrecker's, like, the strongest of all of them. Like, sure, Hunter is skilled, and he's good at tracking. You've got Tech, who's really smart. But, like, Wrecker and Crosshair are, like, the real, like, killers. Wrecker can just bash anyone, and Crosshair can just, like, shoot anyone. Like, Hunter's a tracker. Echo and Tech are good with machines. They're more a support class, whereas Wrecker and Crosshair are kind of the warriors of them. So it'd be really scary if Wrecker went against them. Yeah, so I don't know. That could be cool if Wrecker starts to turn, especially because he's, I guess, kind of the comedic relief. To be honest, not my favorite type of comedic relief, but he is comedic relief, so it's kind of sad if the comedic relief starts to turn, not to the dark side, but turn to the opposing mental state. And then that also adds more incentive for them to figure out ways to get them back. So, yeah, I like that theory. There's still a problem of how did Fennec Shand manage to throw his entire weight while he was running towards her. I suppose running towards her would help with that kind of throw. And I'm not super knowledgeable about throws like that, but it just doesn't seem very likely, especially because Wrecker should be very skilled. He's been trained from birth, I assume, so I don't know. That seems a bit weird to me, but, you know, pretty much everything has, like, a weird fight where you're like, I'm not sure they should have won that. Like, it's hard to think of, like, examples of, like, this is the pinnacle of entertainment, and even this has something like this, but you know what I mean. You've seen it before. There's a lot of examples in Star Wars, such as Barriss Offee. This is just an example that I was thinking about earlier today, so it's kind of top of my mind. But Barriss Offee takes out Asajj Ventress without even drawing a lightsaber, and that's in during the Ahsoka arc, where she leaves the Order. I believe it's called The Wrong Jedi, or maybe it's To Catch a Jedi. It's something like that. I think it's the second to last one. But anyways, not only does Barriss Offee take out Asajj Ventress without weapons, it was kind of a surprise attack, but still. But also later, she seems to easily take down Ahsoka, and not only that, knock her down into the perfect spot, while convincing her that it's Ventress, which you would assume Ahsoka would be like, oh, that's not Ventress's fighting style, that's Barriss Offee's fighting style, but with 2 blades. So, I mean, what she did is very impressive and not really in line with what we've seen from her before. So I don't know how I feel about that, but it is a really good arc, so much to the point where I don't even care. It's good. Yeah, that's all I have on my notes. That's all I can think of. If you know the question of the stream, answer that. Who is the chairman of the Pantoran government? I don't know. Monarch? What is a chairman? I forget. Anyways, who is the chairman of the Pantoran people at the end of the Clone Wars? Yeah, that's the question of the stream. Make sure to leave your guess for that, if you so choose, in the comments or the chat. And I think that's all I've got to say, so thank you for watching. Have a great day, and may the Force be with you.